Isn't it fascinating how change happens before you even realise it? Like the way the sun rises. You don't have to make it happen, it just does. And as you listen to these words, something inside you is already shifting. Like a door that was never really locked, just waiting for you to push it open. Because isn't that the truth? That what you thought was stopping you never really was. Belief is just a game of perception. Some people see walls, while others see doors. Some see endings, where others see beginnings. And isn't it interesting how the way you see something, it changes what it is? You've known this all along, haven't you? Because there was a time you believed something so strongly. Maybe that you weren't good enough, that you didn't belong, that you had to be a certain way for people to accept you, and yet here you are realising, now those beliefs, they were never solid. They were never you. And just like that, they start to dissolve. People say, I'm stuck. But isn't it true being stuck? It just means you haven't yet seen the way forward. They say I'm afraid of what people think. But isn't it funny how the people who shine the brightest, they're the ones who don't care. They say I've always been this way. But haven't you already changed so much without even trying? And as you think about that now, maybe you can begin to wonder what else is possible. Because when you shift the frame, the picture changes. And when the picture changes, so does everything else. Because transformation is effortless. Have you ever noticed how a river never struggles to reach the ocean? It just flows. It doesn't hesitate. It doesn't stop itself with questions like, am I doing this right? It just moves because that is what it's always been meant to do. And isn't that exactly what's happening inside you now? Because the more you allow yourself to let go of old thoughts, the more easily the new ones rise to the surface. And they're already there, aren't they? Bubbling up, forming new ways of seeing, new ways of being. Because a traveller once found a locked door and sat down in frustration. I can't go through, they thought. But then a stranger walked by, smiled and pushed it open. It was never locked at all. And it's interesting. So many of the things that felt impossible, they become easy the moment you stop assuming they're impossible. Because you were never really trapped. You were never really limited. You were just waiting for the moment to see it differently. And isn't that happening now? Maybe you're already noticing it. The way your mind feels lighter. The way new possibilities feel more real. The way you can already imagine stepping into this new version of yourself. And isn't that exciting? And the funny thing is, once a shift like this happens, you can never quite go back, can you? Because now you know. You're not who you thought you were. You're more, you're limitless, you're free. And when you look back on this moment, maybe you'll realise this was the exact point where everything changed. Or maybe you already have, haven't you? Because it's fascinating how the more you listen, the more something deep inside you just knows. Because change, it isn't something you force. It's something you allow. Like the way a seed doesn't have to try to grow. It just does. Because it was always meant to. And maybe, just maybe, that's what's happening to you now. Because the old thoughts, the old fears, the old ways of seeing yourself, they were never really you, were they? They were just borrowed ideas, echoes of the past, illusions pretending to be solid. And as you see that now, isn't it interesting how easily they just dissolve? They tell you that who you are is fixed, that the past defines you, that you're this kind of person and not that kind of person. But haven't you noticed, every time you thought you were one way, life had a funny way of proving you wrong. You thought you couldn't, and then you did. You thought you weren't enough, and then someone looked at you like you were everything. You thought you were alone, and then someone saw you, really saw you, and you felt it deep in your bones. So what else might be possible? Now that you know beliefs are fluid, shapeable, changeable, like water taking the shape of whatever container it's poured into. And if that's true, then who do you become when you choose a new belief? They say I'm afraid, but isn't fear just excitement without breath? They say I don't know how to connect with people. But isn't it true? Warmth. It isn't something you do. It's something you are when you stop trying. They say I wasted so much time, but doesn't every journey make more sense when you finally reach the destination? And maybe you're beginning to realize not everything was lost. Nothing was ever broken. Every moment, every experience, every so-called mistake, it was all part of the process of getting here, to this exact moment, to the version of you that was always waiting just beneath the surface. And as you let that settle in, doesn't it feel lighter? A river doesn't fight the flow. A tree doesn't struggle to grow. And a butterfly doesn't doubt whether it deserves to fly. It simply does, because that is what it was always meant to do. Isn't it funny how the more you think about that, the more it feels like you? Because what if you didn't have to force change? What if you didn't have to make yourself be warm, inviting, confident, free? What if you already were? And all you had to do was stop pretending you weren't. And isn't that exciting, what happens right now? You don't have to try to remember this. You don't even have to think about it, because it's already happening. It's like a new path forming beneath your feet, like a door swinging open before you even reach the next hurdle, like a new way of being unfolding so naturally, so effortlessly, that you almost don't even notice until one day you look back and you realize you've already become the person you're always meant to be.